FFL championship. It happens to be Christmas Eve, December 24th, 2023, and I am in the semifinals of my Smith family football league, and I'm in a battle with Scott, who won on one of the last plays of the game last week and won by a very low score of 73.25 over Christopher. I didn't want to play Christopher because his team is loaded, but Scott, of course, is having a very good week. He's already almost got as many points as he had last week, and that was only after 2 games, so everything for me is a struggle. That's just the way it is. He leads me 53 to 32.75. The games have just started, but it's a journey. I have faith that I'm going to win. I look at the projections, and my win probability is at 57%, which tells me that's the universe, that's God speaking to me. 57, of course, is my number. He had Jared Allen last night. He had 3 touchdowns, 2 by running, 24 points. He also had Olave over the holiday weekend, who had 16 points. He had Tyler Boyd for 6.25. Cooper Kupp, 6.5. My saving grace is I had Puka Nacua, who had 9 receptions, 164 yards and a touchdown, almost had 25 points. My kicker didn't do very well, only had 3 points. McPherson for Cincinnati. My defensive guy, Bernard, had 4.5 points. So that's about basic what you want to see. But I'm very confident I'm going to win. I've got Mahomes, McCaffrey, David Montgomery, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Smith, who's hurt, but I'm hoping he plays Monday night. He'll recover. Cortland Sutton, McBride, Roquan Smith. That will take me to victory. He's got Derrick Henry, who had a horrible game, 1 yard rushing last week. Pacheco. He's also got Zay Flowers, who's questionable, and Tyler Boyd. He's not going with, he didn't take Gabe Davis, who had 20 points, so that was a blessing for me. He's also not taken the top receiver for the Texans, Noah Brown, so I'm hoping he has a big game. So I'm confident I'm going to win. I'm very competitive. Once this fantasy football season's over, I'm getting out. I've had it. Rick's playing Mike, and Mike forgot to change one of his players, so Rick's going to get a free pass because a player got zeros, and Rick's changed his stance. He got a running back, Ezekiel Elliott. Then he changed that the same day to he went with Singletary. Then he went back to Ezekiel Elliott again. Now he's went back for the 4th time to Singletary. So I'm hoping that wishy-washy is going to get him in a little bit of trouble. So Teeny Weeny is going to get butt kicked today, but he's got a 33.5 to 7.75 margin right now. But Mike's got some players. He's going with Mayfield. He's going with Jones of Green Bay. He's going with St. Brown, who I think is going to have a big game. He's got Rice, and he's got some players. So Rick's kind of searching for points, and whenever that happens, people don't do very well. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I'm 20 points down, and I'm hoping and praying to the good Lord. I know it's not good to be praying that I can pull out the victory. That's what I'm hoping for. So stay tuned, everybody, for the exciting conclusion next week. But I'll be back with the update. And right now, we're going to pause the action. Hi, everybody. We continue now with the rest of the story. This is now December 26, 2023, and it's a recap of the Christmas weekend that just ended late last night on Christmas night. So I want to preface a lot of this by saying that I look back on yesterday with not a lot of pride and happiness. I was in a incredible battle with Scott and his team for the Smith family football fantasy semifinals. And before I give the final score, the final outcome, I want to say that the 3 games that were played and my anxiety that happened from that ruined my Christmas. And I'm sure it ruined Patty's Christmas, Marcus, because of the anxiety, my lack of faith. And I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that I prayed a lot about it, and my emotions were just on a roller coaster. And I made a decision yesterday that I will never put myself or Patty through that again. I'm never going to do it. So this is my last year in fantasy football. I'm 66 years old. God does not care about fantasy football. He doesn't. He does care about my happiness. But I'm embarrassed, a little ashamed. I had to get on my knees this morning and just say to God that, I don't want to do that again. I want to have a higher calling, a higher purpose. So I want to throw that out there first of all. But Scott had an incredible week with his team. Josh Allen had 24 points. Derrick Henry had 1 point the week before, threw a touchdown pass over the weekend, ended up with 19.25 points. Isaiah Pacheco was on a good run, had 7 points, then got hurt, head injury, so he only ended up with 7. Cooper Kupp only had 6.5, but had potentially 2 touchdown passes that he couldn't quite get to. Chris Olave had an incredible game, 16.25. Tyler Boyd, he used him, and he had 6.25. That's what he was projected for. Bobby Wagner, his defensive guy, 6.5. He's always doing great. He won the week for him last week for Scott. He had T.J. Edwards. He was a little bit under at 3 points. His kicker, Nick Folk, about 5. So going in, there was 3 games, and going into the final game, the second game, the first game was Kansas City and Oakland, and Kansas City was favored, and they just got their butts kicked by Las Vegas, the Raiders. And they were playing for their coach, Pierce, who could have really been playing for his job. So the Vegas Raiders just seemed to dominate, and I had a bad feeling watching that game because I was way behind. I was behind by 20 points going into that game. So I really needed something from Mahomes. He had, I think, 5 points if he had that, maybe less than that at halftime going into the fourth quarter. And he was able to get 16, came close to having interceptions. He had one was taken back for a touchdown, several drops, which is what Kansas City does. So I ended up going ahead of him by 8 going into the final game. And I knew it was going to be the game of the week and an incredible game in stress because Scott had Zay Flowers, a rookie who has been coming on, and he had George Kittle, who I knew was going to be very, very tough. And I went into the last game with Christian McCaffrey, the MVP of the league, and a defensive player, Roquan Smith, who is very good. I thought, well, I've got one player and a defensive guy. I know the defensive guy won't get more than 5. They never really do unless it's, an interception or pick 6. And he's got 2 receivers. So the game started off pretty good for San Francisco in the first quarter. Then Baltimore really got hot, and I said, I can't take this, Patty. I'm going to go to bed. So I literally went to bed at 9 o'clock. Ruined Christmas Eve. Wanted to stay up late. Patty was, she always keeps the faith, but it was just stress, and my emotions were high. I was feeling guilty for praying to God about a silly fantasy football game and everything that goes with it. I'm just getting embarrassed with myself thinking like that. I thought, well, I don't really care. If you take out fantasy football, I don't really care about sports really anymore, football. So I went to bed, but then I couldn't go to sleep, so I kept looking at the score. And I saw that Flowers was just dominating. He was just going all over the field. Kittle the same way. He had a long touchdown, or almost touchdown, in the first half. And so they're dominating. McCaffrey's doing his usual thing, but no touchdowns. I knew I needed a touchdown to stay with him. And so then McCaffrey got me a touchdown. So I ended up having a lead of 8 points. I thought, well, that's possibly going to be enough. Nope, he comes back. Flowers scores a touchdown. Kittle's catching balls all over the place and near misses. And I thought they're not done because San Francisco fell behind big time. And so I thought, well, they're not going to run. They're not going to give the ball to McCaffrey. They're going to pass, and that's what they did. Several times George Kittle came close to a touchdown. So he went ahead. I'm thinking, well, he's went ahead 2 points, 3 points. It's close, but they're going to pass the ball, not going to go to McCaffrey, and I'm going to lose this game by 1 or 2. So I went to sleep at 11 o'clock, never looked at the scoreboard, asked God to forgive me for my silliness of fantasy football, vowed I'd never do it again, go through this type of league, and just said, congratulations to Scott. He lucked out. He had a 7-7 record, 500 record, and he shouldn't have won last week, and he did by .25, and he's going to win today. So I was happy for him and turned my phone off and went to sleep. First, I had all the emotions that you have: anger, denial, bargaining, everything, like I was a dying man. And woke up this morning happy. Scott won. He deserves it. And upset that God didn't hear my prayer. And I had such mixed emotions. And then to find out when I turned it on, I said, well, I'll get the final score just to see. I bet I only lost by 1 or 2 points. And found out that I won by .5. Scott won last week by .25. Can't get any closer than that. And I won today, or last night, by .5. So I will play Rick in the championship. But again, I want to reiterate that I'm very embarrassed by my behavior, the way I was talking to God. He's got so many other things on his mind. And I think I'm a good person. I deserve happiness. And I just, to put a philosophical slant on this, something's missing in my life, obviously, that I have to have so much of my energy and time and focus on fantasy football and sports. It's got to stop. It has to stop. And I don't even know if I'm going to put this out for anybody else to hear. I just don't think I'm going to. I might. If I put it out, no one's going to listen to it probably anyway. They're not listening to my other podcast. Put it in the public domain, but only because I want it to be on record. But I don't want a type of life where I'm thinking about fantasy football. I look back, hour after hour after hour I've spent studying, reviewing, agonizing, turning my whole day upside down, watching stupid game being played, which is nonsense. I'm not doing it anymore. So I think I'm going to win against Rick. He's a great guy. He's been a winner his whole life. He played Mike, and Mike forgot to have one of his players put in chains out of the lineup, so he got a 0. So he probably would have beat Rick, but Rick had a bye where he had a huge week, 150 points or close to it. Then he plays Mike, who Mike beat him a couple years ago to win a championship. And he forgets to change a player. He didn't care whether he won or lost either, I don't think. But he almost won. He only lost, I think, by 10, something like that. I can look it up here. But I play Rick, and already it's out that I'm predicted to beat him. Yeah, they've got it out already. I'm 12-2. Rick was 8-6. Rick was 2-5 at one time, so he ended up going 6-1 over his last 7 games. I'm 12-2. I haven't lost since October. I won. Let's see. I won 8 in a row. Then I had a bye. Then I won 9 straight. I don't think God is going to have me win and answer my prayer and then say you're going to lose. I've had too beautiful of a season, record-breaking. I'm projected to beat him 123 to 109. And I'm going to say that he'll probably stay with Jared Goff. And as we look at Rick's team against mine, I'm going to stay with Mahomes. I'm going to dance with the one I brought. But I just feel like it's not worth it. I don't want to spend the rest of my life over silliness like this. I'm not going to do it. So, but again, I'm going to have my New Year's Eve weekend ruined, of course. Rick's going to go with Jared Goff. He goes against Dallas. Dallas lost this past week, so they're going to be hungry. Detroit won. He'll probably put in Jahmyr Gibbs. He didn't use him last week, and he should have. James Cook, I figure he'll go with him again. He's got Josh Jacobs. He traded for him, but he's been hurt, so I don't think Rick will use him. Calvin Ridley, Mike Evans, Devontae Adams he got from Randy. That's a big plus. I could use that as a excuse. A trade was made that helped Rick a lot there, but I won't do that. Rick beat me a couple times in fantasy football 30 years ago. As you all know, I'm like my mother. I don't forget, so I think it'll be, payback time a little bit, but I'm going to have no trash talk, no crowing, no bragging, nothing. I know he's going to call and say, good luck, Bubby. I hope you do well, but not too well, something like that. And I'm not going to, I probably won't even respond. I might just say, thank you. There won't be any trash talk at the end. He's got Sam Laporta, who did not have a good week last week. T. Higgins. He's got 2, probably the best defensive guys in the league. Alukan, or whatever his name is for Jacksonville, linebacker. He averages over almost 5.5 a game. He's got Alex Singleton, also averages over 5.5 a game. And he's picked up another kicker, Tyler Bass, for Buffalo, who's predicted to have a good game. That adds up to 109. I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes, Christian McCaffrey. I'm debating whether to go with David Montgomery or go with James Conner. Conner had a great game last week, but he's going against Philadelphia this week. CeeDee Lamb is, to me, the best receiver, him and Hill. Devontae Smith saved me with a touchdown yesterday. Puka Nacua absolutely saved me. He had a huge day, 25 points. Cortland Sutton, I'm going to drop him. He had zeros. He got hurt in the first quarter and got me zeros. That's why it was so close. Trey McBride, he let me down. He had like 4 points. He's got to come back and have a good game. And my defensive guy, Roquan Smith and Terrell Bernard. And I'm probably going to stay with Evan McPherson. He's a great kicker, but Cincinnati looked terrible last week. Just ridiculous. Got out-coached and everything else. They're going to Kansas City. So it's going to depend on the weather there. And it adds up that I am predicted to win by 14 points. But that's just a projection. The previous matchup we played in week 7, and Rick had 90.75. I had 129.5, so I blasted him almost by 40 points. And I'd like to have that same thing happen, but I know it's not going to. I know it's not. So that's sort of where we are with that. If we look at the standings, let me see where we are. I don't even know if they keep points. For the regular season, you really can't go with the regular season for Rick because he just came on huge. And I ended up in the regular season with 1,677 points. Rick had 1,461, so he was over 200 points behind me. But I was lucky. I only gave up 1,349. Rick gave up 1,479. So I was number one in the league in points for, and number one not having points against me. I was number one in both categories. So I have a 9-game winning streak. Rick lost the last game of the season. He got blasted. He only scored like 50-some points. But then he had a record-breaking number in the bye week. And I like it when guys have big weeks in the bye week for the other team, because they won't do that twice. The one who really, I'm glad he's out, is Christopher. He had a great team. He was just behind me in points scored this year. I don't know why his team didn't do better. I really don't know why. Scott, he actually had 1,456 he scored and 1,424 against, so that's why he was 7-7. So the two best teams are probably going to the finals. That's the way it should be. I won my division by 3. I beat everybody. The only ones I didn't beat, I lost two games, both consecutive. I lost to Evan by 1 point. I lost to Kayla. So I haven't lost to anybody else. I beat everybody else. And I think I beat Evan when I played him again. I believe. I can't remember. But that's it. So we're going to put this podcast in the books and get ready for one more exciting week. And I'm debating whether to publish this. I just don't know. But I don't want to go through that again. So, Patty, if you're listening, I'm really sorry I were in Christmas and Christmas Eve over a silly fantasy football league. I'll never do that again. And, of course, I want to thank God. He doesn't care about fantasy football, but he cares about my happiness. But I'm happy in one regard because I like winning, and I think it goes over to the next year. But I don't want to focus on things that aren't important anymore. I don't need this. I don't need trophies. I love my brothers and my family, and I feel bad for Scott even. That's the kind of life I want to have. I want to lead people to Christ and to be a productive, positive person, show kindness and love to everyone. So that's it. I do think I'm going to win because I, unfortunately, am one of the biggest competitors on the planet. It controls my emotions too much, and it did teach me a lesson that I need to find things that are more positive and more healthier outlook and more ways to do something productive instead of fretting and fussing over the FFL. So that's it for now. We'll have the exciting conclusion coming up January 2nd, probably, or January 1st, when I give the final scores. Me against the Midwestern Mavericks. So we'll see you then.